Hello and welcome to another episode of Sports and Songs Podcast. Today, we've got a bonus episode. I'll be interviewing Cole Flick on the show here today. Good afternoon, Cole.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for having me on.
Well, if you don't know, in the baseball world here in the state of Minnesota, Cole Flick is the lawnmower guy, the field design guy, the field turf, all the stuff going on with baseball fields. He's been the local celebrity here. He now runs a business called Flick Field Renovations. And tell us a little bit about how the business got going, Cole.
Um, I had been kind of like a hired gun, I guess, for many different fields around the state. I'd get a phone call from somewhere, and they'd ask if I could come and maybe do some consulting or help out looking at their field for issues that they had, or maybe they wanted a pitcher's mound rebuilt, or some mowing done. And so I've been doing that for 15 to 20 years. And just over the last year or so, I decided to turn it more into a business. And so that's where, Flick Field Renovations came up. I have it truly is a family business. So my wife, Beth, and my two boys, two of my sons are helping me all the time whenever we get a job. And, just I get a lot of messages through Twitter from different fields and baseball associations or teams around the state asking if I can take a look at their field and if I can help them out. So that's kind of how it all got started.
Now, you've been doing this for a while as far as the mowing and taking care of fields. Your home field there is in Dassel for the Saints, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yep, Saints Field in Dassel.
So each field, the state of Minnesota has 288 town ball teams going from Class A to B to C, and the amount of work and dedication and maintenance it takes to keep up these fields is huge. And every field has got a guy like you that's doing this behind the scenes, and there's very little recognition or whatnot. But you also take very good pride, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And there are tons of guys just like myself. It's just like you said, anywhere you go, they have that guy. If you stop at a field, they'll yell, "Oh, he's down at the corner of the field if you want to go talk to him." And it's fun to talk with the people that take care of the field. And yeah, everyone has the small town baseball stuff. Everyone has this sense of community pride, and so it's at Dassel, it's not just me. There's many people that work on St. With me, along with me, or I might show up someday and someone's out weeding an area that I hadn't been able to get to, but yeah, it's so many beautiful ballparks across the state, and yeah, everyone does have that one person that kind of takes care of the place.
Yeah, I grew up in Jordan, so the mini met was always meticulous,
Yeah,
and those guys who did that, that was their life. Then I
yeah,
later on in life I moved to Chaska, and Dale Welter at
yep,
Athletic Park there was just phenomenal. Treating that field as his baby, essentially. Now I got the luxury of living in Waconia. Lions Field is the home here where
yeah.
my wife and I go to most of our games here for amateur baseball to take in the Lakers and talk about. Fantastic field and just phenomenal caretaking. And it's just fun to see because baseball guys like us get a kick out of these phenomenal fields. Now, my question to you is when did the designs in the outfield come into play? And when did that become a thing? I know we saw it in major leagues over the last 5 years or so, but there was never designs. They were cut in a certain way. Maybe there was a pattern, maybe there was crisscross, but they were always generic. When did this whole this whole this artwork, when did this come into to be?
Well, for me, I can remember a high school baseball player going to Springer Park in Cold Spring and
Yes.
looking at the classic checkerboard design on their field and how sharp and the light and the dark contrast to the lines. And I just fell in love with it when I was in high school. But for getting maybe more creative, in Dassel, we were hosting the 2005 state tournament, and I steal ideas for all the mowing designs. I look at a lot of the football pitches over in Europe.
Okay.
It seems like they just have these phenomenal creative designs.
Oh, gotcha.
So for the 2005 amateur state tournament, it was the first one we hosted. I had mowed like a sun ray pattern, so all the lines started at a small point in home plate and got larger as they went to the outfield. And I was doing some cleaning around the stadium on the day of the first game. And one of the players, I don't even know from what team, kind of came around the corner and they took a look at the field and they said, "Wow, this looks like on TV. This looks like a game on ESPN." And I overheard him say that, and I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. Cool to hear." So I just kind of got the idea that it's not a difficult process to do. You're mowing in one direction and coming back in the other direction, which makes the lighter the dark lines. So I just kind of let my mind go and see which way I could make different lines appear and just roll with it. I sometimes sketch things out and get a little plan in my head beforehand, but most of the time I look at an outfield advertising sign on our fence and I think, well, if I mow it that way and then turn around and come in a different direction, I think I can get a unique pattern out there.
That's phenomenal. It's good stuff because Major League Baseball, the minor league parks, the varsity, high school, amateur, everyone's doing it now, and some are done okay or high average. The ones that you do are phenomenal, and I get these questions. How much practice does it take? How long does it take to do this? And I don't know. So you're our first guest ever on the show here to actually talk about the field mowing. How long does it take? Do you do it twice? Do you do it once in the certain directions to get all those different designs? How close do you have to be? Is there GPS involved?
I get that a lot.
God, yes.
You must have GPS on your mower, and I do not. I know for a fact that the right field and left field foul lines are straight.
Okay.
So if I use those as a guide to start one way or the other, I know that I'll be straight. And then, like I said, I really do pick out something in the outfield. Maybe it's a light tower. And I think, well, if I can angle at that, that picture you're showing, that's the 2005 state tournament. Yeah, with the sun rays.
Yeah, that is unbelievable.
But so the more often that you mow the same pattern, the darker those lines get set into the field. You're burning the lines in so that it just has this real nice contrast. The first time that I put a pattern in, it might take me about 2.5 hours to get the lines the way I want it. And, it's almost like a pencil eraser. If I make a line that I don't like, I just mow it again, but in the opposite direction, and it erases the line, if you will. So it takes a few hours to get a nice pattern set in. And then I mow Saints Field and Dassel every other day throughout the summer.
Okay.
I have a real mower, like a golf course mower.
Okay.
So once you get the pattern put in place, then it doesn't take nearly as long. You just, you're coloring in the lines, just following along what you've already done. So, So
it's good stuff.
There was one, I like that one there. That looks like cactuses, I think. There was a pattern, though, that I really wanted to put in, and I spent probably 2 hours trying to get the lines right, and I absolutely couldn't figure it out. So I thought, well, I'm going to go home, and I went home and ate lunch, and then something dawned on me that, I don't know, if I were to follow the foul line, I could get the proper angle, and then I went from there. So
these are good. Now, the thing I like about these big shots here are the drone footage. This is taken from a drone, right?
Yeah. So that picture that you have there, that was from one of the guys that I was teammates with, and he had a drone for work, John Hohenstein, and so he brought his drone in and took those pictures. And then a couple years ago, my wife bought me a drone, so I use my own now.
Okay.
I really don't have the best idea on how to fly it. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, but the thing I like though is that it's high def. It's not just an average camera taking these. These are high definition photos, are they not?
Yeah, they're really
make
sharp.
it look so fantastic. And so So now
Oh,
you're in the drone business and the lawn mowing business and the home plate, mound repair,
right.
things like that, as
Yeah.
well with your business. But boy, to be honest, I didn't know who you were. I don't think 5 years ago. I didn't hear the
Sure.
name Cole Flick at all. But on social media, I think it was around the COVID, the shutdown, and the state tournaments around there. My wife and I were going to the games, and we were down in Milroy and
Yeah.
saw what you did there. Springfield and some other towns around that during the shutdown. And that's when I saw this stuff take off. So I had thought maybe that this is something new at the time, or maybe it was the social media that really kicked it into high gear. But now I'm getting these kinds of things come across my feeds and whatnot, and all your stuff too. You're very active on social media, very good photos and things out there. It's phenomenal to see. So in my mind, this is like a 5-year-old business now that we're in 2025, but you've been doing
Sure.
this for 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I started, so by trade, I'm a teacher. I'm a gym teacher.
Okay.
And I started teaching in Dassel-Cokato in 1995. So the spring of 96 was the first year that I played amateur ball with the Saints. And because of my time off in the summer as a teacher, I just kind of took to taking care of the
I
field.
see. I see.
Um, and I can remember when we had, old farm tractors that we were mowing with, and finally got a real mower, and started to notice that, it cuts a little better and it starts to actually put in a design. Um, but when you talk about social media, it's kind of a blessing and a curse for amateur baseball field guys, if you will. Just last night, I was over at Litchfield watching playoff baseball games there, and I was talking with Jeff Woline. He's the high school coach in Litchfield, NBA Hall of Fame, and we were talking as a couple field guys that, the more stuff that gets put out on social media, it starts to become like not a competition, but you see what someone else is doing at another field, and you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, and which I think is great that it's made everyone maybe take a little more pride in their field and try to do more to their field. I get messages constantly from people that are saying we're doing upgrades on our park this fall. Can I ask you some questions? And so just the fact, I think, the more that stuff's out social media wise, then people start to think, well, we can do something like that, or we can make improvements. And everyone is trying, all of us field guys in the state, we're trying to make these MLB quality fields with no money at all. No one has
Yeah.
money to take care of their fields. So you're just doing what you can do.
Yes, and that's true. As the Major League Baseball, the AAA affiliates and the minor league farm systems, these are paid grounds crew staff. That's what
Yeah.
they do. We're talking here volunteers and people helping
Yeah.
out with the stadiums and whatnot. And the grass, the lush grass that's out there. As an outfielder, I've always loved the fields to begin with, and now you get the designs, you get the perfect fertilized fields. There's no weeds in there. There's no dead spots. It's just phenomenal to see
Yeah.
this quality. And as far as town ball baseball, Minnesota is the best in the nation. I mean, no one comes close to what we have here in our own state with town ball baseball. Now we got the fields,
Yeah.
the quality, the players, the atmosphere, the fans. It is just phenomenal. Now the state tournament's going to be coming up here in the next couple of weeks with 3 host sites. It's going to be Brownton, Hutchinson, Glencoe, and I think Gaylord as the 4th site.
Yeah.
Are you working on anything with those sites?
Actually, in the late spring, I went over to Glencoe just to help reset some base anchors for them. They were adding agrolime. They were adding an infield mixture to their dirt, and they wanted to make sure everything was square. So I went there just to put in new base anchors for them. Nothing with Gaylord, nothing with Hutchinson. With Brownton, I'll probably stop over at Brownton and do some mowing for them. Um, and that's one of the things where that's not a part of my business. I just want to go do it. I love
Yes.
helping groups out. I got a call from them the other day, and so I said, yeah, no problem. Let's make it
Yeah,
happen.
I will see some of your social media posts by saying, "Hey, it's not my field, but I did this field here yesterday. Here's some shots of how it looks.
Yeah.
And so that's just fun to see all the various fields that they ask you to come and do, or you want to do, or you volunteer to do, because it's just, it's so fun. Now, does your son play for Dassel?
Yeah, my oldest son Jordan, he is the manager
Okay.
and the pitcher
Oh,
for the.
yes, yes. Yeah.
He was. Yeah, we actually did play. I stopped playing baseball in 2011, and he was probably in his second year on the team. So I got to play with him then. But he's played since 2008 or 9, somewhere around there, and he's the manager now. In 2023, he was drafted by Maple Lake.
Yes, yes.
And he got to be on the mound quite a few times for them, and was there. Was pitching for the final out when they were the champs. So
Yeah, he was on the all tournament team there that
yeah,
year for Maple Lake on the great historic run that they had. And yes, that was your son Jordan. Okay,
yeah.
got it, got it. I remember I've been to a bunch of those games, and he did phenomenal. And here's some of the listings. Now I'll read off to the listeners some of the jobs that you've done here recently. The Buffalo High School, the mound, plate, and the dugout turf. I mean, those are things, nothing to do with cutting the outfield grass, but this
No,
is the actual redoing the mound, the home plate, and the precision that it takes to get these things just right on the measurements and whatnot. Uh, and then the dugout turf. So the dugout turf, explain that to the listeners who may not know
uh,
what that is.
I I've spent this summer doing quite a bit of turf for different peoples and for different fields. And I think what it comes down to is areas that are in front of the dugout, high traffic areas in front of the dugout, or maybe along fence lines. Um, when you're the guy taking care of the field, and it has nothing to do with the game itself, but it's just another chore or task that you have to weed whip along a fence line, um, or how dirty dugouts get with the dirt in front of them. So many groups now are going to they're adding artificial turf around those areas. Keeps it cleaner. I just finished up at Litchfield this year, and I did turf along all their fence lines and in front of their dugout, like the walkways to home plate from the dugout, those turf halos around home plate. It's less to maintain then, and it seems to keep everything a little cleaner and tighter looking.
Yeah, not as much mud after rain and whatnot as well.
Right.
You mowed for the Waconia 2021 state tournament. You mowed
Yeah.
for the Milroy 2020 state tournament. Eden Prairie Round Stadium, you're part of the mound rebuild there just this year.
Yeah. So that would be another one where a high school coach reached out to me through social media, and said they wanted a higher quality pitching mound than what they had. And so I went and rebuilt their mound, and then when doing jobs like that, then it's always nice to meet with to talk with them when I'm done about, okay, here's the maintenance after I leave.
Yeah, it's not
Because
just done. It's not done.
no,
It's a lot of work.
yeah, because if I rebuild a mound or a home plate and then leave, and then they don't follow the practices to keep it for the upkeep for it, they're going to be in the same situation as they were before I got there.
Yeah, a lot of work for all of these. I mean, just the diamond itself, the mound, the home plate, so much care is needed. Now, Bird Island, the mound, the plate, and the turf halo you completed for them.
Yeah, so Bird Island, myself and Mark Forsman, we went there probably about 7 years ago for Mike Nagel on the state board. We went to his field and rebuilt a mound and a plate for them about 7 years ago. And then last year, they were hosting an American Legion state tournament. And so they called me up to come and do it again, rebuild a mound and a plate, and we changed product. We went to a Dura Edge product, and they also wanted the turf halo to go around home plate. So yeah, that was a fun job, and they had a great state tournament. You talk about every town has their baseball guy. Well, in Bird Island, they've got a guy named Gunner, and he's been working on the field forever, and a great guy.
That's good stuff. Then you did
Yeah.
also Winsted, the mound and the plate rebuild at Winsted Stadium, and then St. Boni. I did see this last year when you did this for the
Yeah.
home plate and mound at St. Boni. Missile Park looks really sharp there at St. Boni. What are your thoughts there at that field?
Oh, they've done so much to that field. I, I I just went there about 2 weeks ago and just kind of did some touch up work for them, and the difference it had been since the 2 years prior when I was there. Um, New dugouts they have put in. I think they got new lighting there. Uh,
Yes, yeah.
I think Crown College plays there, so
Yes, yes.
most fields around the state, from my experience, I don't know all of them, but there's usually like three entities involved in like who ownership of the field, if you will. So there's an amateur team, there's a high school team, and then there's a baseball association. So usually it's like three groups that all are working towards the same thing. I get in contact with one of them, and they say, well, if this if if this is going to be if I'm going to charge them, I kind of give them the idea. I'm like, well, you got three different groups that are using this field, so an amateur team that only has money from beer sales, they shouldn't have to flip the whole bill. But if the high school team plays there, they can talk to the school district, and if there's a baseball association that uses the field, to kind of help with costs.
Yes, and like I said, St. Bonnie with the lights, the new dugouts now. That's St. Bonnie.
Yeah,
Bonin Field, St. Patrick, new dugouts,
yeah,
new lights recently.
gorgeous,
I don't think you've done
gorgeous.
any work out there. Have you down in St.
No,
Patrick?
no, I haven't, but absolutely gorgeous field. I see all that stuff on social media the same way that you do.
Yeah,
It's
and
just fantastic.
people do post,
Yeah.
and they're very proud of their fields. So lots going on there with all of this. Now, how did you get your background or interest in this, Cole?
Um,
In the mowing. Let's go back to the mowing
to the
design.
mowing,
Yeah.
I think I'm no different than any other guy at his house, and he like looks at his lawn and wants to mow his lawn and make it look nice.
Yes,
And
yes.
and I just have the fortune to have a 2 acre lawn at the ballpark,
Okay,
and,
yes.
and then to have the right equipment to do it. Um, I love being at the field. I mean, it's a great place to be, and the mowing designs. I'm not artistic. I can't draw. I can't paint. um, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't.
I assumed there that you did have that kind of a background, but I
No,
guess we can't
no,
assume that.
no. But I don't know. I get on a mower and I can just kind of see something happening,
Okay.
and then just go with it. And the other thing is I don't have I don't golf. I don't hunt. I don't fish. So the baseball stuff is just kind of my hobby. I mean, that's what I like to do.
Now, Cole, you mentioned some of these, many of these small towns where they have three entities running the ballpark, and give the listeners an idea of how many games are played on most of these fields in a given year, in a given
Well,
summer. How many games are played when you talk about high school, amateur, legion,
um,
varsity? It's a
yeah,
lot of ball
it
games.
really is. Saintsfield. There was a time at Saintsfield where we were having about 85 events, 85 games throughout the spring and summer. And we had our amateur team, high school team, Legion team, VFW, junior Legion, all those teams playing on the field. So I always thought that was a lot of games. But then with you being from Waconia and talking with the guys that take care of their field, I know they have. And Delano would be another one, 100, 125, 150 games. So it's the field. The field can take quite a lot of a lot of abuse. So you do have to continue to maintain it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I would
Uh,
imagine most places probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of from spring through the summer, like 50 games, I suppose.
Yeah, and the typical fans will go and watch their son or whatever player or, the team that they follow. And so they just maybe think that there's 10, 15, 20 games a year at that park. But with all the things going on behind the scenes, all the other leagues, the teams,
Yeah.
and the tournaments and whatnot that they host, the field can take a lot of beating over the year. And they always look
Yeah.
sharp like this because of all the maintenance.
Well, and you really like for us in Dassel and for the other groups that have hosted a state tournament or even you're hosting a region, it's jammed into 3 weeks, or a region is 2 weeks, and you might have 12, 14 games in that time. Or for the state tournament, 28 games.
Oh,
And
yes.
And it's well, the old state tournaments, the game started on Thursday, so you'd have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So now it's just gone to Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But I think the planning and preparation for a tournament leading up to it, what have you done like all spring and summer to get your field into that shape, really helps when you have 4 games in a day, 3 days in a row. So
Yeah, and they go through, the criteria even to host a state tournament. There's field checks 2 or 3 times during the year by the state board to ensure things are ready to go for September, for late
oh
August. I mean, there's a
yeah,
lot of
they
checklists.
they come out even the year prior to you hosting and start looking over your field, and then the spring and summer of the year you are hosting, the state board comes out, checks out the field, and they'll point things out to you that they want different if it's not something that they
Mhm.
think is state tournament quality, I suppose.
Yeah, it is such a high quality. And once again, compared to other states, you don't see this anywhere, but here it's very meticulous.
Yeah.
Now, Cole, check this out here. I just wanted to mention this to you. Here's your tweet here from Allet Mowers. Now, this was an event that you took place in, right? You entered this event, professional event, and won for the amazing work here, called the 2024 Creative Stripes Champion. So, congrats, hats off to this. This was
Thank,
last year. Tell us a little bit about
thank you.
more about this, Cole.
Again, from Twitter, 7 years ago, I suppose I saw a mowing company in Europe called Allet Mowers, and they had a Creative Stripes contest, and submit your entry. And so I had entered into that competition probably 7 or 8 times.
Okay.
And on their social media, they give out like 6th place through champion.
Okay.
So every time I've been in the top 6,
I see.
and never always the bridesmaid, never the bride. But I think maybe I got a sympathy vote. Maybe that's why they said this guy's entered so many times. Let's give him the win. So
That's
that was
fantastic.
that was fun. That was exciting. Yeah, and
That is.
and that particular pattern, I don't even think that's the best one that I've submitted to him over the years.
Well, it looks sharp. It's good
Yeah.
stuff there, as we can see all of your work there on the slideshows that I've been showing in there in the background. I don't have any other questions here for you, Cole, but hopefully folks can write in, leave comments about you and your work there at the show here, in the comments on the YouTube show. And hopefully you'll have you on again in the future, but state tournament time. Hope to see you out at the ballpark.
Oh yeah, I'll be there. And thanks for having me on. I love your podcast. I listen to it all the time.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again,
All
Cole.
right, thanks, Dan.
Been a pleasure.